Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Like, share, comment, subscribe, become a channel member where you'll get access to all archive videos. Support independent media. Super chats enabled. Super thanks for the Replay Gang, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Dr. Thunder Music, all one word. Spell out the word doctor. And if you'd like to feed me sandwiches, then all methods apply. Sandwich Gang in the building. Don't mess with my sandwich money. I am Dr. Thunder, and this is my collaboration with Tony from God Rules. And our show is called Two Dads React. And we're two lame-o dads, and we're concerned about current events and how they may affect our children, may affect just family. And we realize that family is the most important thing. It's the thing that actually populates the earth. It's the thing that carries out the great first mandate. That is, be fruitful and multiply. But not just running wild in the street and laying down with anything, but actually doing it in a way that's going to be the most healthy for the children. You look at marriage, this is interesting. The early church conception of marriage is to serve three purposes. There are three purposes. It's quite practical, actually. The three purposes. It's an outlet for lust. That's number one. Apostle Paul says it's better to marry than to burn with lust. Number two is procreation. You can't be fruitful and multiply without procreating. That's why there are strong urges, especially when you're youthful and most fertile for women, and same goes for men. You have all that, that poison coursing through your veins, telling you to do things that maybe you wouldn't do if you were older and wiser and smarter. And then number three is companionship. Those are the three purposes of marriage. And the primary beneficiary of marriage is, guess, it's the children. Marriage is not really for the adults. It's really for the children. Because be fruitful and multiply. So, in this environment, how are we going to do that with all of this foolishness, this crazy stuff going on? The economy is in the crapper. They just print more money, anytime, which literally robs you every time. If you have money in the bank, when they print more money, your money becomes worth less. And that's not great. So we have those challenges. We have politicians lying to us all the time. Did you hear about Kamala lying about McDonald's? Why would you lie about working at McDonald's? But look, this is where the world is. But today's show, we're going to be focusing on something strange that's happening in Europe. And heck, not just in Europe, but in Brazil, apparently, what is it? They're cracking down on free speech. So now free speech is not a real thing. They're burning churches like hotcakes in Europe. Like hotcakes, for some reason, really focusing on Catholic churches with that. A lot of crazy stuff going on. guys being arrested for preaching the gospel. One guy actually got thrown in jail for refusing to bend the knee to the transgender agenda. He finds it to be a form of child abuse, to be drugging children and mutilating them. But that's like, saying that that's considered, hate speech or something, because you're actually concerned about kids and you don't want them to perhaps do something that's permanent and they can't ever reverse. And by the way, do you know that they're trying to tell young kids, and they're trying to fool adults into thinking that these hormone blockers are reversible? It's completely reversible. Right. Right. Oh my goodness. And as I've been saying on my platform for goodness, this is all that population control agenda, right? If you look at Agenda 21, for instance, Agenda 21, published in 1994, it's pretty clear about what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And we're getting closer and closer to their dream come true scenario. So, anyhow, we've got a great show for you. Got Tony in the back, and we're going to roll this countdown, and we'll be back with a great episode of Two Dads React. Let's go. Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. What's happening, man? How you doing?
Not bad. Just looking at the world burning down in front of us and wondering what we're going to do next.
Yeah.
I was like shocked. I sent you the text. You say, what should we do this live stream on? And I was like, just looked really quickly at the news and I'm like, really? All this stuff happened? Like,
Dude,
really?
Yeah, we could do like 3 or 4 shows a day, and we probably still couldn't couldn't even scratch like the surface of all the goofy stuff. So much crazy stuff, man.
I mean, they're trying to get rid of speech now, my friends. It's just absolutely ridiculous what's going on. And it's just like right in our face, like in this teacher in Ireland, basically it's not him speaking against the trans stuff. It's that he won't endorse it. He's getting arrested for not endorsing it and not promoting it. It's not like he's not being neutral. He's not going against it. He has to condone it and teach it in his school. If he doesn't, he gets arrested. He actually got arrested. I have where did that go? I had that around here somewhere. Yeah, here it is, right here. You can show it on the screen real quick.
All right. Yeah.
This is absolutely ridiculous. This is in Ireland. This guy right here getting arrested, not because he spoke against trans, and we're talking children stuff. We're not talking like, adults. He's supposed to promote it in Ireland. If you don't promote it, they even said here, he refuses to endorse and affirm transgender ideology. He has broken no laws. I have a right to be here. I have a right to work here. And he gets arrested for this. This is what's the kind of stuff they're doing now. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
This is go ahead.
Yeah. It's pretty, it's outlandish. Cause it's one thing like, cause honestly, people that are like being preachy about stuff, sometimes that's irritating to me too. It's like, okay, man, I got it. All right, fine. Can you do that somewhere else? All right, I already said no thanks. Okay, I get that. That's kind of irritating. But this is a scenario where the guy's not being preachy. He's just doesn't want to kiss the ring, and he just wants to, that's all. So that's too much. So in here, so check this out. I mean, it's the same. It's what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, here you go.
I have a right to work here.
He has a right.
I have a right to be here. And
You're arresting
not
him.
to tell students they need to tell puberty blockers.
You're arresting him because he won't endorse transgender ideology.
Here at Wilson's Hospital School, Zena Kirk, teacher, being arrested for not accepting transgenderism.
Nor should I. And I'm not going to turn my back on my duty to my students.
I'm not going to turn back on my duty.
No, you don't have a duty to do what's wrong.
No, you never
and
have
to
a
bring me
duty
before
to
the
do
court. To bring me before the court.
No,
to bring me before the court.
there's abuse.
This is a disgrace.
Children are being taught to tell a young boy.
Surgery.
Yes, surgery, mutilation.
Yes.
Mutilation.
It's a
And
disgrace.
suicide. An
Mutilation.
Absolute disgrace.
Mutilation.
An absolute
You're
disgrace.
telling a boy that he's
blockers.
gender
Do you have
neutral.
a conscience?
Yeah, that he has to take chemicals. That he has to
He
take
has broken
chemicals.
no law.
That he
He
has
has
to take
broken no
chemicals.
law.
be heavy-handed.
No, that he has to
He
take
has broken
chemicals.
no law.
Not going to be heavy-handed.
He has broken no law.
Shame upon you.
You have no right.
Shame upon you, Garvey. Shame upon you.
You've no right to do what you're doing.
This is an innocent teacher, a Christian man.
Broken no
And
law.
I won't.
Shame upon you, Garvey Síochána.
Mr. Burke has broken no law. He has broken no law.
I have a right to my job. I
His
have a right to work
constitutional.
here.
He has a right.
I have a right to be here. And
You're arresting
not
him.
to tell students they need to tell
puberty
puberty blockers.
You're arresting him
Not
because
to
he
tell
won't
students
endorse
that they need to
transgender
take
ideology. Arrest
Shame
him.
upon you,
Shame on
Garvey.
you.
Shame
Shame on you.
ideology. Shame on you, man. Shame.
just seen what happened there. We're here at Wilson's Hospital School in Ulty Farnham, County Westmeath. Enoch Burke just thrown in the back of a Garda van, locked up, taken away from his place of work. It was demanded of him that he accept, that he endorse transgenderism. And this is the result of it today. He said no, and he's been taken away in a Garda van.
Now, Enoch Burke didn't appear in court on Friday. I was there with Amy, my daughter, and of course we were removed from the court at the end for simply asking Justice Barry O'Donnell, did he not care that children are being abused at this stage in Irish schools? Because using the they pronoun is the first step in puberty blockers, abuse, surgery, terrible agony for young people, maybe regret, suicide.
Yes.
And they're actually letting out real criminals that have like robbed places, stabbed people. And currently in Great Britain, they're actually letting them out of the prison because the prisons are too full. While they're letting out these actual criminals, they're putting in people like this. They're actually putting up grandma who posted on Facebook that she didn't like something. And they're literally kicking down doors of grandmas. I'm not joking. I actually saw a video. The cops are kicking down a door for someone who posted something on Facebook they didn't like. And that's the kind of stuff they're doing in Great Britain right now. So
very silly. You were mentioning the free speech thing.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can get this to the right place.
They're being too kind. They just need to burn stuff down and then they might listen. You know, that's how it usually works there these days. You know, you just got to burn things down and then they'll listen to you. I mean, you know what I mean? Like with the immigrants all rioting and stuff. It's okay when you do it that way, you know. So
All right, here we go.
In a unanimous decision, the first panel of the Supreme Court of Brazil keeps X suspended and consequently the free speech in Brazil banned. The 5 ministers who voted against free speech in Brazil are Moraes, Dino, Zanin, Fux, and Carmen Lucia. All 5 ministers of the Brazilian Supreme Court voted against the free speech guaranteed in the Brazilian Constitution and in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18.
oh my god.
In a unanimous
Dude, I wonder if there's any corruption on the Supreme Court when their document literally says you have free speech and they're like, no, you can't have free speech. I mean, I wonder if someone bought them off or put someone there. Wow, I just can't imagine such a thing happening. No corruption at all. Right?
Yeah, this
zero
stuff
corruption.
is silly. Yeah, everybody please like the video.
Did you see there was like a massive protest over this? Like just huge. Like I saw like this bird's eye view and it was like just it was like a whole beach plus a bunch of high-rise buildings all just completely filled up with people. The entire area was filled up protesting against this. And it's just amazing to me, like all the corruption we're seeing. You have to be a complete, imbecile at this point not to realize there's corruption in government. I mean, you got to be kidding me. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Now, okay, so 1 second here. So we know that this is happening too. I mentioned this in my little monologue there.
أيها السكان في بلد الموت وظلمته نور يشرق عليكم لأن الله معنا لأنه قد ولد لنا صبي وابنا أعطينا لأن الله معنا وهو الذي رئاسته على.
What did you say?
Like it looks like he's pointing the water away from the fire and not at the actual fire. You notice that? Like he's pointing there's 3 of them now, but there was like one just pointing to the side while the fire's up here. And I'm just like, what is he doing? Is he trying to put out a fire or not? You know what I mean? Like, what are they doing?
Well,
they can't reach it. They can't reach it or what? Because it looks like maybe they can't even reach it. I don't know. It's just so weird. Yeah, did you show my screen? I want to show something real quick.
Sure.
This will just give you an idea.
Let's see here where we at. Here you are.
This is how many churches fires have been in France in the past 4 years. Just to give you an idea.
Goodness.
So now what I think is going on, and this is something I've said before. You see this building here? This is in Chicago. It used to be called Chicago. It was at the World Fair there in like 1890 or something. I can't remember the exact year, but this building was torn down. And so what I wanted to get at is I think a lot of these ancient buildings, like these cathedrals and stuff, they end up burning down. If you look throughout, I've done videos covering this, like all these ancient buildings, they end up getting burnt down. They've had entire cities get burnt down. There were all these ancient type of buildings. And I think it's all intentional because a lot of these buildings are actually made of brick. So they end up somehow purposely burning down a bunch of old buildings. And I think it's because there's something about these buildings they don't want you to know. And it has to do with sort of like the old world, the medieval times. Because, of course, we don't build anything like this anymore. We build Walmart, which is basically a square, right?
Yeah.
We don't build anything like this anymore. And I think it's like the devil hates this stuff. And that's why I think this stuff gets burned down. I think it also tells them more about our past because they always tell us the medieval times were a bunch of ignorant people that couldn't read, yet they have the greatest artwork, the greatest architecture. That would speak the exact opposite of what they tell us. They tell us that they're all ignorant, can't read, dark ages, yet they have the greatest architecture, greatest paintings, Michelangelo, Raphael, all of this. It's just kind of amazing to me that, it's sort of like a rewriting, of history is kind of how I look at it. And I think there's something there that they don't want us to know. So this building here was in Chicago. They said that this was built with horse and buggy in like a year. This thing is so big. It's like almost the biggest building in the world. It was like this is actually from the midway point looking to one side. Okay. Yeah. This could house like, I think it was like I can't remember. It's an insane amount of people. It's like almost as much as the biggest building today can. Yet they said they built it with horse and buggy. There's no way they built that with horse and buggy. You know what I mean? Like it's like the people are like ants in the building, right? How did they get all those things up there? You know what I mean? So there's like a lot of buildings like this in Great Britain. There's a building made of glass. I'm trying to remember the name of it, crystal something. And they couldn't maintain it, but it was built before automatic glass making. It had all glass panes on it. And even after they started the manufacturing process of automated glass making, they couldn't maintain the building. So how did they build it in the first place? It's just really amazing. They have buildings that they couldn't even maintain today with our modern technology that were built hundreds of years ago. And they all mysteriously burned down too. There's like these stories, you can go look them up, microfiche, of like entire cities burning down. Even in India, they'll have these ancient buildings that look just like you see, like with the pillars, like you see the Roman pillars and everything. They had in Calcutta, they had tons of these buildings, and they just all mysteriously burnt down. And now there's none left. So it's just really amazing. I think there's more to this. It like shows a connected history in our ancient past they don't want you to know about. Is what I think.
Wait a minute. In India, did they immediately build a strip mall with a food court?
This was way back in like 1890. There was actually pictures.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what we do. We get rid of the good stuff, and then we put some homogenous stuff, some stuff that's everywhere else. The same fast food places, the same.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. The Capitol building, even I think, is actually one of these ancient structures because they actually did. You can go look up this picture online where they're actually digging down underneath, and you can actually see the building goes down farther, and it's like really strange looking. When there's actually these construction photos where they're trying to upgrade it or whatever, and it goes way down deeper. It goes really deep down in the ground, and it's been around. So it's just amazing. Like even Notre Dame Cathedral, they've never fixed it. You remember it burnt like 10 years ago? They never actually finished fixing it, and it burned again. Because I don't think they actually want to rebuild it. I think they want it to be destroyed. And they do that with all these buildings. That's why you have all these churches that were burnt down. Where is it at? Right here in France over the last 4 years. And this, at any rate, it's something I've covered on video. I'm going to probably do another video about it again soon here. But I've covered on my channel, God Rolls, in the past. I actually have a couple of videos up over there. There's actually a picture, a video with a picture like this on the icon that you can go click on, and I talk about this stuff over there as well on God Rolls. But I think there's something going on here. There's no reason why there should be this many fires of churches, right? And I mean, even famous ones like Notre Dame, and that one. What was that? The Immaculate Conception, I think, the one you showed. I think it's the Immaculate Conception. So, at any rate,
yeah, that's how it is.
Some crazy stuff. You saw this too. I mean, they have these carnivals and these. They had what was it? It was in Germany. They had like a peace festival, and a bunch of people died there. They have this carnival in England, and it happened again. It's because it's just amazing because they bring in these people from outside the country, just lots of them, and they don't check them. They don't make sure they're good people. They're just letting them in, right? And then they take over entire communities. In Ireland, I think there's actually more. From what I heard, there's actually just as many men that are immigrants as are born men there in Ireland that are from Ireland originally. If you could even imagine that, if you could imagine in America that half the men are from outside the country.
Well, that's where we're going.
Yeah, that's what they want to do.
Yeah,
but Ireland's already there. So they could actually, they could literally take over with that kind of numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're so eager to do that. That even the foundational Black Americans, the so-called ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery,
right,
is that whole thing is they're attempting to obscure that and treat that as the same. Yeah. I mean, they're doing that with.
They did that with LGBTQ as well. I remember back 20 years ago, they were trying to say it was the same thing as what Black people have went through, or African Americans, however you want to say it. I was like, this is a joke. Are you kidding me? It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's the co-opting of the civil rights movement.
Right.
So now they just use that. So basically, FBA.
They weren't in slavery. They never went through slavery. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
what are you
basically FBA, foundational Black Americans figured out how to mobilize and get things to change. And so basically, everybody else copied the same blueprint, but did it more efficiently, and they were better financed. So they achieved more power faster.
Who? Soros maybe, or somebody, you know what I mean? Like, who's financing it? Like all these protests, like those protests on the campus funded by him.
No.
All these things that happen, they're funded by they purposely do this to destabilize countries so they can make money, and I think they're trying to change things and stuff. They do all that stuff.
No.
It's really disgusting, actually. And then everybody else is just watching, whatever American Idol or some dumb show and like eating their Cheetos. They don't even know what's going on. You know what I mean? So
pretty
that's
much.
our world. Yeah,
that's how we do it.
It's like did you ever see that movie Idiocracy? Did you ever see that movie?
Of course. That's a standard reference. That is the standard reference. Okay, so check it out.
Right.
I've got a little bit more on the church burning stuff.
All right, play more.
Let me go ahead and play this.
In France, people all throughout the country are setting churches on fire in a new viral trend. This year, France has had well over 300 churches catch fire due to arson attacks in a new trend. News station this morning posted this map right here showing the amount of churches caught fire. And it isn't just fires, people are smearing poop all over the walls as well. But the weirdest part about this trend is it is only Catholic churches. And because most churches don't have cameras installed, they are not catching any of these people doing this. This one was one from last weekend when somebody set fire to the top of this sphere on a church.
Notice he said it's only Catholic churches. Why? These are all ancient churches. These are all old world buildings.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get, and I'm telling you, now some people are going to blame and it might be some of these people that come into the country. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you, I guarantee you, my theory is it's big money behind it, causing this to happen, because you can look at the last 100 years. This happens everywhere. There'll be these fires on all the old buildings. It's always the old buildings.
Yeah.
Any of these people doing this. This one was one from last weekend when somebody set fire to the top of this sphere on a church. And this one was last week, and they're able to do this because in the weekday, no one's simply in the churches. And a lot of churches are left unlocked for people to go inside and pray when needed. And for the first time in history, these churches are now having to have full-time security guards. But many still refuse to set up cameras, even though this problem is getting so bad that the French government is now having to get involved. Because right now, the crime for this is only a $500 penalty and 30 days of community service, meaning you can burn down 5 literal churches and only have to do 30 days of community service. If you were in charge of France, what would you do to stop this? In France, people...
They're not interested in stopping it. You've seen what they did in the Olympics, the France. It was in Paris. They told it had to do with those two Brazilian athletes. One was a surfer, told him to take the Christ the Redeemer off a surfboard to even compete in the Olympics. The other one was told not to talk about her faith. She's a skateboarder from Brazil. She had to sign language her faith. Then they mocked the Last Supper in the beginning of it. Then they had a satanic one at the end. Obviously, and then, of course, there's also something about free speech going on there where they're trying to take that. Clearly, their government is not on board with the church or doing things right. They don't care. I mean, they'll fine you thousands of dollars a day for speaking the wrong words, but then only fine you out $500 for burning down a church, apparently.
Well, so we were talking about, ancient, ancient, ancient faith, we're talking about these ancient buildings and all of this. And we were talking about the co-opting of the civil rights movement. So,
right.
Well, that they are attempting to co-opt the church too. Here we go.
It's the Lord's Day. I got my Bible. I'm ready to hear the word.
Good morning. My name is Javonte Thomas, and I use he, him, his pronouns. Please join me responsibly in the call to worship. Cosmic wonder, nebula birth new stars. Auroras paint the night sky with vibrant watercolors. And yet, we find ourselves stuck in our unimaginative ways. The singularity tells us a story of infinite potential. Event horizons point to boundaries beyond black holes. And still, we believe the limited lies sold to us by oppressors. As meteors light up Earth's atmosphere with space matter, bring your holy possibility close down to Earth. Light up our hearts with unfeathered love. Become one with us today.
Oh my goodness. That's like that. I think that takes a Colossians 2:8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of man, rudiments of the world. Yeah, I mean, he's talking about science while he's using his pronouns in church. I mean, seriously, dude, really? We don't even have proof black holes even exist. It's just a theory. And you're talking about it in church with your pronouns. I mean, seriously, come on, give me a break, dude.
This is how we
I'm
do
a
it,
scientist. I have a bachelor's of science mechanical engineering. I don't want to hear about black holes at church. You know what I mean? Give me a break, dude.
All right, and check it out. And but the real ones, have to fight back with their international ministries. Here we go.
Jesus, okay. As we present to some and introduce to others, amen, the bishop designate, amen, the overseer, amen, and the residing prelate of Tabernacle of Praise Fellowship Ministries International, amen, none other than Bishop designate Devon Guzman, amen, God bless you, amen.
Now that was a clap for me. Come on, you clap your hands and give him glory. I don't hear nobody clapping. I said clap your hands and give him glory.
Yes, that is the kitchen. It is in their living room. International Ministries. International.
I'm waiting for you to get excited. I said clap your hands and give him glory. Come on, baby. That's right. Come on, clap till you get excited. I said clap your hands and give him glory. Yeah. one person clapping. I'm waiting for y'all to get excited because anytime I start thinking about how
He's excited, man. He's excited. International, man.
Yeah, wait a minute. We got somebody else.
Maybe it's one of those cell churches, right? They do that in China where they have them all over the place. It could be a cell church. Right.
Oh, wait a minute. We got somebody else that's also fighting back. He's fighting back against the evil forces in his, godly service. And you may remember this guy. We talked about this guy once before. Let's see what he's talking about now.
You tell me to stop popping. You say this ain't God? Who are you? No, you can't tell me how to preach and teach and prophesy. You can't tell me how to dance and praise the Lord. You can't tell me. Because he revealed it in me. And what's real to me might not be real to you, but it's real to me. And if I can keep myself true to who I am, maybe it'll spill off on other people. Maybe somebody else will get free too. Maybe somebody else will say, if he did it for you, he can do it for me. If you tell me to stop.
So let's roll it back real quick. Because I know you wanted to cut
breakdance.
That's right. He's under he's under the influence of the Holy Spirit.
Breakdance.
Me to stop popping. You say this ain't God? Who are you? No, you can't tell me how to preach.
Especially that when he's right on it with that one. Let's go back and get that again.
You can't tell me how to preach it.
Wait a minute. One more. You get it one more time.
Who are you? No, you can't tell me how to preach and teach and prophesy. You can't tell me how to dance and praise the Lord. You can't tell me.
His body,
Because he revealed it in me. And what's real to me might not be real to you, but it's real to me. And if I can keep myself true.
Wait a minute. That sounds like my truth.
My truth is not your truth.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Hold up here. What are we talking about here? I thought this was.
He's got some skills, man. He should go in the Olympics like that lady did and do some breakdancing.
Oh man!
You saw that one lady?
I saw that. That was terrible.
I think it's funny. I thought she was just doing it for a joke. She got all upset over it. I was like, I thought she was actually just joking around doing it, But yeah, good stuff, man. Yeah, there's all these scandals in the church too. Did you see the one with Rick Joyner? Chris Reed, the guy he installed. I got it right here on the screen.
All right, talk to us.
Rick Joyner basically installed this guy named Chris Reed. Apparently, a number of things happened in his church. He stepped down. From what I understand, actually, do I have it here? I think I do. Where is it at? One sec here. No, that's not it. Basically, what happened is there was a guy who worked in the church that was doing things with, of course, young people, if you know what I mean. And I don't think he was the one, but he got caught with some girl in the church. So he got caught with some girl, younger in the church. And then there was a guy that also worked for him in the church that did things with multiple, of course, younger people, if you know what I'm referring to. But the thing is their ministry is called Morning Star Ministries, which of course could be seen as good or bad. The word Morning Star refers to, in some scriptures, God, in some scriptures, the devil. Of course, I think that's intentional that they translated it like that. But if you actually look at the ancient Greek and Hebrew, it's not the same word. Why did they use the same word in English? I don't know. But he calls his ministry Morning Star Ministries. And I always thought Rick Joyner, something was wrong with him. I heard some strange stories about the guy in the first place, but I covered that recently on a video. I don't know if we want to get into all here, but I think there's a lot of these guys at the top in the church. You got Pope Francis, you got Rick Warren, Rick Joyner. You got guys all over the place. Even John MacArthur. Some people think John MacArthur is this great guy. I've heard some rather strange stories about him. I actually have some evidence that guy's got some weird stuff going on too. But, this isn't a video, we're not trying to expose everybody here, but I've seen so much, it's just ridiculous. A lot of these guys fall every time you turn around too. John MacArthur, his grandfather was a 33rd degree, you know what I'm talking about? Mason jar. I just call it Mason jar. And his uncle, I think, was one as well. And he claims that he's not one, but his background is Scottish, and they have a Scottish version of the Mason jars, right? And he happened to put on this camp for younger people, and I could pull up the link, and they did everything on the exact dates that they did the Druid Festival at Stonehenge. They had the exact stuff going on. They had face paint. They even had a pig's head, cut off pig's head, and they were doing some weird thing with that at the camp. And this is supposed to be a church camp, and they did it on the exact days that the Druids did their stuff. So just to tell me that John MacArthur's just a normal guy, I don't believe it, because why would he have something like that set up? You know what I mean? So it's just really strange. You look into all these top level guys, and they all got this bizarre. You'll find strange things like this like skeletons in their closet. So, and I could show it if people want to see it. I mean, I got this thing around here somewhere. It'd take me a second though. MacArthur, and this is something very few people know about. Few people know about this. Here it is. I can show it.
Sure.
Check this out. So this is from the camp. This is something written out. I covered this like 8 years ago. But basically they have this camp. I can show it down here. So here's the camp. John MacArthur's Regeneration Camp. This was some years back. I think like 2018 or something. And notice they do face paint, right? So, I mean, that's normal. You maybe think it's normal, but I don't think it's exactly normal. But they do that at the Druid Festival. It's at the exact same dates, same exact time frame. And the thing that really makes it obvious is when you get down to this pig thing. I mean, why would you have a pig's head at a church camp? Does that even make sense? They also do all the hand signs that are kind of like it too. But here you have the pig's head. This is a pig's head at this Christian camp, and they're doing this weird like game which is related to Druids on the exact same days. And this is a John MacArthur camp. So, of course, he says he's all against the Mason jars. But if he is, then why does he have a camp that does their actual rituals? That's the question. And I mean, there's like so many of these ministers. I mean, you could like pull up tons of stuff on each one. And of course, you got also the obvious scandals where they get caught with women or other things. But this is the stuff that's kind of hidden that no one sees, right? So he also says there's no miracles. He's one of these guys, they call them cessationists. They don't believe miracles exist today. And I think that's a doctrine of the devil, because they do that. The devil wants that because he wants you to be completely powerless. Like if you don't believe there's any miracles, then the devil believes in miracles, and he has his people doing stuff, witchcraft or whatever. And then you don't believe in any of that stuff, right? So you're powerless. Like you don't believe in any of it. You don't believe in the power of prayer. You don't believe in anything. So the devil could take ground from you easily, right? So it makes sense the devil would want that taught in the church, that there's no miracles. I mean, you got saints in the ancient past that were doing miracles, right? I'm sure you've heard of some of these stories because you're Orthodox. But I mean,
yeah, there's all kinds of stories about some of the saints. There's one in particular that was seen levitating. Like, I mean, like when he would walk around town.
St. Blaine. Yeah, I think that's St. Blaine.
Yeah, when he'd be walking around, he's praying, he's saying the Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. He's saying this over and over, and he's walking around in the town on his like prayer walk kind of a thing, and he's like levitating and glowing and stuff.
You might be talking about the same guy. I think he's from Ireland, and he also was known to shoot electricity out of his hands, which is probably where George Lucas really studies a lot of stuff. He got some of his ideas from India. He got some of his ideas from the ancient church. He read a lot of stuff. He might have got those ideas from that. I don't know that story. because he has, the dark side. They're shooting electricity out of their hands and stuff,
Right.
Of
There's,
course,
there's
also
actually
yeah.
there's actually a couple saints. There's a couple that were sainted, that like glowing and all of that, and then that thing where I think a lot of Protestants try to write this stuff off. Oh, that stuff's not real, But like the thing like where their body they were dead for like several days and they still didn't smell. They smell like roses, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard of that. There's even, I saw one Orthodox guy, he's been dead a long time and he still didn't look like decayed. Like I don't know how long, but it was a long time. It wasn't even 10 years. It was like 50 years or more. It was a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe even 100. I don't know. It looks strange though. But yeah, so there is a lot of that stuff that you can find in these history books, because I like to study history, church history and all this. And I think the devil purposely set up the church the way it is to keep it weak. And that's why you're seeing all these church fires. You see France completely rejecting God, going sort of the atheistic. And it's not really atheistic anymore, because it started out atheistic. And there's actually this clip. I should have you play it. Richard Dawkins. This guy... Remember, this guy was the one that is an atheist, right?
Yeah.
And he recently said he's a cultural Christian, which I thought was really funny, because this is the guy that spent all of his time trying to destroy God from his country, Great Britain. I remember 15 years ago, they were putting out slogans on buses like, don't believe in God, it's okay, or something like that in Britain. And then shortly after that is when they had this huge influx of, all the migrants and just everything, the churches falling apart. And now he realizes what's happening in his country. If you play the clip, it's pretty funny, because he realizes that this is his doing, partially his doing. He's the one who preached all this. And now his country's completely falling apart. And he's realizing, well, wait a sec, this is not what I wanted. Right.
Yeah.
If you can play it, I have it at the 12-second mark. So it's actually at the right spot. It'll play at the exact right spot.
All up here, and let me go over here and find my.
And this went viral recently too. This clip, because he was saying he's a cultural Christian and he's actually an atheist.
Let's see here.
And you should play more of it, because I only played a little piece of it. He actually says some funny stuff. I mean, it's funny because he's so hypocritical and contradicting himself.
Okay, here we go.
And what would be your Easter message? I mean, I've said a few things. What would you tell the nation?
Well, I must say I was slightly horrified to hear that Ramadan is being promoted instead. I do think that we are culturally a Christian country. I call myself a cultural Christian. I'm not a believer, but there's a distinction between being a believing Christian and being a cultural Christian. And so, I love hymns and Christmas carols, and I sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos. I feel that we are a Christian country in that sense. It's true that statistically the number of people who actually believe in Christianity is going down, and I'm happy with that. But I would not be happy if, for example, we lost all our cathedrals and our beautiful parish churches. So I count myself a cultural Christian. I think it would matter if we substituted any alternative religion. That would be truly dreadful.
Well, which brings me to my supplementary point, which is that, as we know, church attendance is plummeting, but the erection of mosques across Europe, I think 6,000 are under construction, and there are many more, are being planned. So do you regard that as a problem? Do you think that matters?
Yes, I do, really. I mean, I have to choose my words carefully. I mean, if I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, I choose Christianity every single time. I mean, it seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion, in a way that I think Islam is not.
I think you're going to have to explain why you say that, Professor Dawkins. Why is Islam fundamentally not decent like Christianity?
Yes, I mean, the way women are treated. I mean, Christianity is not great about that. It's had its problems with female vicars and female bishops and things. But there's an active hostility to women, which is promoted, I think, by the holy books of Islam. I'm not talking about individual Muslims, who of course are quite different, but the doctrines of Islam, the Hadith and the Quran, is fundamentally hostile to women, hostile to gays, and I find that I like to live in a culturally Christian country, although I do not believe a single word of the Christian faith.
Just for balance,
it's so funny, dude. It's so
It
funny
is
because
funny.
yeah, I remember this guy. He hated Christianity. He was saying so many mean things and bad things about God 10, 15 years ago. God's a loser. He was saying the really terrible things. There was this clip I used to play of things he would say. He's not talking like he used to, people. Those watching, that's not how he used to talk. What I'm saying here is the reason why I'm laughing is because this guy caused this to happen, thinking what he would get instead is Star Trek. He thought he would get some sort of scientific utopia. Everybody's happy. We're going to pursue knowledge and explore safe space and all this kind of stuff. That's not what happened. That's not what he got. And so his entire viewpoint has been debunked by what has happened in his country. And now he, instead of admitting that he's just completely wrong and that his whole paradigm's garbage, instead he's just like, I'm a cultural Christian, which is also funny because atheists love to play word games. They love to play these. They will say, I'm an agnostic atheist. What is that? You're either agnostic or atheist. No, I'm an agnostic atheist. No, I'm a cultural Christian. I'm not a Christian. I'm a cultural Christian. What does that even mean, dude? Like, you guys are just playing word games. Why don't you just be honest with yourself? Stop playing these games. Realize that you made this happen. Your country's garbage now because you promoted atheism. And YouTube used to promote it to the top. I remember Amazing Atheist being on the front page 15 years ago. Now he doesn't get any views because YouTube don't need him anymore. We don't got it. We don't need atheism anymore. Now we got whatever. Now climate change, trans, whatever. That's the latest thing being promoted. Back 15 years ago, they promoted atheism everywhere. Now they're promoting this, climate change, DEI, whatever, this garbage stuff they're promoting now. Every time you turn around, they're promoting some new garbage. And we got to deal with it. And they're like promoting it to the front page. And then like 5 years from now, it'll be some new thing, right? It was gay for a while. Then it's trans. Now it's DEI. What's the next one, right? And why don't they just stop promoting their garbage and just let people talk and figure out what's what, right? And just let it be even, where everybody can make it just talk, and then we decide ourselves. Why do they have to tell us what to think, right? See what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's how you keep the money, keep the people with the money. You want them to keep the money and other people not to have the money. That's how you do that. But I was going to say, what he sounds like is, he sounds like a woman that has been for the streets for 20 years and she's got a triple-digit body count. And she decides that she's turning over a new leaf and that she's saved and she wants a God-fearing man.
Wouldn't it be 4-digit at this point? And we got a lot of 4 digits out there too,
Yeah.
4 digits.
She wants a God-fearing man. She's been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. She wants a God-fearing man to come in and not hold her responsible.
I was thinking that too. He wants his cake and eat it too, right? That's what
right.
you're saying.
Right.
Yeah,
right. She expects you to forgive her for her wrongdoing. And because you're a good God-fearing man, you've been trained to just act like any wild and crazy 20 years of time doing wild and unthinkable things. He wants you basically, he wants to be Jenny and he wants you to be Forrest Gump. That's basically.
I mean,
that's basically what he wants.
If the Christian guys were thinking like some of these girls, they might be going out and doing a lot of women all over the place, like hundreds of them, and then like, oh, now I'm saved. But there's more to it than that, though, because the man was the head of the home, right? And he also had, back in the old days, they had more than one wife. And the reason why it wasn't the other way around is because you wouldn't know who the father was, right, of the child, because they didn't have DNA back then.
When people
right?
when people try to act like this stuff is the same, it's like they don't understand biology. It's like they don't understand basic practical, it's like, come on. Like, look, we know men and women are different. I'm not condoning men running around doing wild and crazy stuff, but we know that men doing what men do, what they tend to do, whatever, is not as bad for society as if women do it. It's just just the truth.
There's even a YouTuber. There's a YouTuber couple on YouTube. I think it's something to Morgan, and I can't remember the name. Something to Morgan, but they're Christians, and the guy was a virgin and she wasn't, which I thought was really interesting. She had her body count. You know what I mean? It's just it's so weird. It's so backwards now. Now the guy's a virgin all the time, and the girls are not.
Look,
right?
I mean,
and it used to be the other way around. It used to be the girls were always virgin, the guys weren't.
Look, I
right?
was just talking about this on my show. Maybe I mentioned this on this past Friday's show. I might have mentioned it this morning. It used to be that the women always had way lower body count than the men. It was always that there were some outliers, and yes, you had working girls and stuff like that. And that was a lot of the ways that dudes that didn't have any access, that's actually what they would do. Right? Okay. Yeah. So it used to be that, but it seems like millennials in particular, it seems like millennials is when this really flipped. So now, literally, on average, women, millennials and younger, have a higher body count than the guys. This is like you think that's good for society? You think that's, we got them. See, we proved that we can be just as debaucherous and just as wild and crazy as the men. I mean, look, and even if you just talk about, I'm sorry to be, lowbrow or whatever, but even if you just talk about STDs and how that spreads and who tends to be carriers of these STDs. And I'm not talking necessarily about houses in Virginia. I'm talking about or the herp derp, but the herp derp also. But when you talk about stuff like, the others that I'm not going to mention the names of right now, when you talk about the others, the ones that you can take an antibiotic for, the fact is that they're primarily spread by women. So if a woman has that, she's going to spread it to a bunch of dudes, and the dudes probably won't know it for a long time. And women tend to be the carriers of these diseases. It's just not, look, it's just, but it makes sense. It makes sense because, we have an Audi, they have an innie, and an innie is harder to keep, from stuff or whatever. It's just gross, man.
I feel like
we shouldn't be running around. Nobody should be running around wild and crazy and doing the crazy stuff that's happening now.
Yeah, right.
Least of all women. I
agree 100% with that. I mean, back in the old days, the whole idea of dating was kind of like before. In the old days, you would do that with a woman of the night, right? That's how they used to do it. They would actually take them out a few dates and then do something with them. No. Now it's like every woman does that, and which is ridiculous. But I feel like we took something that was not broken in various pieces of society, things in society that weren't broken, and then they just thought, well, we can make this better, and they actually broke it and made it worse. That's what I feel like has happened to society. It's kind of like, I've seen this with companies. Like the company has like a very successful company, like some big name brand, and they'll bring in a whole new executive team, and they're like, oh, we got to rebrand, we got to make a new logo, and the logo they make, the new logo looks like crap. The original is better. You know what I mean? But they have to prove to themselves that they're somehow better and they're doing something right. So then that's why that we got to do something better than the family. We can do better than a man and a woman being together and having kids. Well, let's just make up something better. Trans.
No, I don't even think. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but really what it is. It really is just population control. There will support anything that will reduce the population.
Well, I think what it is those that have the money at the top want to be the top dog, and the only way. And I saw this one guy, I think Andrew, Wilson. He said that it's men giving the women all these rights, and it is men. It's men at the top because they see the other men as a threat. You and I are a threat to those guys at the top, so they don't want us to reproduce and have families. They want themselves to have it, and then they want to control us. And that's sort of the idea behind. So they're the ones introducing these ideas. It's just like, and I covered it recently on a video. This doctrine. Here, let me show my screen. I'll show it real quick. Yeah. This is something I talked about recently on video. Who funded John Darby and Schofield? It was the Roth, of course, child dynasty. And you'll notice this with a lot of these guys. Like a lot of these famous people in the past were funded by these guys because, and even the women's, of course, movement was funded by guys like this. Okay. They were, and usually they'll take someone that's sort of crazy and they'll kind of get them a little bit more polished, and then they'll fund them and then promote it everywhere. And then this is how they get their agenda passed. Now, Darby, the whole idea, you've heard of the Left Behind series, the whole rapture idea. Yeah. That was from John Darby and Schofield. And they got their money from the Roth, of course, child family. So they purposely put money behind bad ideas to promote those bad ideas, to get the whole society to agree with those bad ideas. And they do this all the time. They did it hundreds of years ago. They're doing it now. And it's just kind of funny to look at. And so then everyone believes this. A lot of Protestants just believe, like, everything's going to hell. Beam me up, Scotty, get me out of here. Instead of actually trying to fix society while you're here, you're thinking it's going to end any moment now. So it doesn't matter. Who cares? And then there's also certain churches that say you can sin all day long. It doesn't matter. You're forgiven. So I can sin all day long. I don't want to do anything good. I'm going to be beamed out of here anyways. Who cares?
Yeah,
this is the mentality.
You can be a 5-time baby mama from, you got 5 kids and 6 baby daddies.
You're forgiven now. Doesn't matter. No repercussions.
Right. And since now you're saved and you're filled with the Holy Ghost now you deserve a God-fearing man that will excuse
6'5"
all of your past.
NBA player.
That's right. That will excuse all of your past transgressions, because you're beautiful just the way you are.
Or maybe like
who
Jeff
is he to judge you? Only God can judge. Man, this stuff is so. And the thing is that it's the same thing over and over. Like, every time I see one of these things, you almost hope that maybe it'll be like a different nuance or a different tweak on this. It'll be like there'll be like a subtlety that others haven't really quite gotten yet. Nope, it's the same thing. It's exactly, they almost say the same words. It's like they're reading off a script.
It's bad, man. It makes you wonder how many people they funded too. Because I know Sigmund Freud was funded by these guys as well. Sigmund Freud was basically, and by the way, a lot of the people they put in the funny farms and these institution psychiatric wards, a lot of the people they put in them is because they had religious fervor back in the old days, because they were too religious. We got to put them in there. Got to get those crazies off the street. We don't want peddling that religion or any of that kind of stuff. So that's what, Sigmund Freud was all about. Mental illness and trying to separate it from spirituality. Like there's no spiritual component whatsoever. It's just all mental. And they were funded also by the same family. So all these ideas in our society is because they prop all this stuff up and they push it everywhere. And now we can talk about it because we have the internet. Back then, they just had books. Just people. I mean, of course, they would be over the publishers to make sure the right books were published, right? Right ones got distributed. You know what I mean? So it's like they had the money. They were playing all these games with society, trying to manipulate people's way of thinking and living, and trying to change society.
Yeah, and we know just right up your alley what you're talking about. The feminist movement was astroturfed by the Ford Foundation and the Rockefellers.
Yep. See, it was these two families, as the Roth, Childs, and the Rockefeller, of course, Fellers. I say it that way so that you're closed caption. But those are the two families. One side covered certain topics, the other one covered other topics, and they both were the ones that kind of went forward doing all this stuff. So that's why those names are familiar. People have heard these names before. But yeah, so they funded a lot of stuff. Yeah, they astroturfed. That's what I was talking about by the woman. She was actually sort of crazy, and they kind of polished her down and got her a little bit more sane sounding. And then the Rockefeller, of course, Fellers then pushed those ideas out so that women would accept them and embrace those ideas.
Simultaneously pushing women in and going off the gold standard, and now everybody has to work, and our money isn't worth nothing, and the 80% of couples, both parties have full-time jobs, and now the kids are being raised by the child care folks, and then you don't have enough money to get your kid away from the public schools, so then they can teach your kid that maybe they should wear a dress and start taking puberty blockers. And look, man,
But you're crazy. But you're crazy to say all that stuff when you notice the obvious. You're not allowed to notice the obvious, right? So, well, it's not obvious to most people. You're supposed to just be a dumb guy that watches TV all day and don't think about anything, and play video games. That's what you're supposed to do. But you're not allowed to.
Here's the thing too. Saying that stuff, noticing that there's an agenda behind this stuff, that actually I think is exploiting people that actually have gender dysphoria, that are truly believe that they're
there are
trapped
people
in
like
their
that.
own body. Yeah.
I knew a lady that's a Christian. Then she was like kind of a friend of my channel back like before the whole trans thing took off. It was right before that, and she had just gender dysphoria, and she was telling me about it, and I was like, so there are a few people out there that do have that. There are some here and there, but they exploit it. They're exploiting it.
100%.
They exploit this stuff. Yeah.
They're exploiting it, and they're doing this thing where they have so like mainstreamed this thing, which is such a you're talking about such a small percentage of folks. But they mainstreamed it, and then because of this abstraction, the separation, creating this sort of arbitrary connection at best between sex and procreation. Now you can, because sex is not really about procreation, right? So then you can you further divide those things, and then so you can march anything through that doorway. So
they've removed procreation from it. They just removed it entirely. I mean, now it's just basically for fun, and that's it. That's all it's
100%. Well, and
buy a pet dog or cat, and that's my kid. That's how a lot of women are doing it now.
Look, man, I was dogging it. I was.
My wife's telling me about these women. They're like, I got cats and dogs. I don't need a kid.
I was being harsh. I was being a little harsh on the woman with the 5 baby daddies, and or the 5 kids from 6 different baby daddies. I was being harsh, but at least she's having kids. She's at least having kids, so you kind of got to give it to her. Hey,
she's at least doing what Elon Musk said do. Just have some kids, man. Come on, have some kids. Isn't that what he said? He's had a lot of kids with a lot of different women, of course, too. But he's a rich guy. He should just have a bunch of wives. That's how they used to do it in the old days. You should have 5 wives. That's what he should have. But of course,
you can have more kids that way.
Yeah, of course, you could have a whole entire country like we had with Israel, and then Egypt gets scared because there's too many people, and then they want to enslave you. You know, that's what happens when the government doesn't like what's going on. So,
okay, so check this out. We were talking about preachers getting arrested. Let's see what this is about.
I'm not even moving. They're trying to make it look like I'm resisting. I'm not moving. You saw what happened there. Like, my friend was getting arrested. And
okay, now hold up. Cheyenne, I don't think you understand the joke. When I said 5 kids from 6 baby daddies, that's because she doesn't know who the father is of one of the kids. She's not sure who the father is. So they're both the daddy. That's what that.
She got Maury. She got Maury and figured it out.
All right, let's keep going.
they were like acting like he was resisting.
Yeah.
6 police all behind him, twisting his wrist.
So what happened?
For false accusation.
Yeah.
They can't prove. No, they literally can't prove it, but they'll get.
Yeah. And what happened when you saw someone with a machete? What?
Right. So there was a threat of a machete attack on us.
Yeah.
Where's the footage? Where's the trials? And now what they're doing is they're taking it away. You see
crazy scenes down in Swindon. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 police people trying to arrest a guy here. Pretty crazy stuff. This isn't good optics again from the Wiltshire Constabulary. This is awful.
Is he still preaching? He's preaching while they're arresting him?
No, I think that's a recording of something.
What are they saying they've done?
What are you doing that for? I'm just stood here. Everyone can see I'm just stood here. What are they doing? Twisting my arm.
Man.
What are they claiming you've done?
I'm not even moving. They're trying to make it look like I'm resisting. I'm not moving.
Look at that. So it's 6. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Crazy scenes down here. Crazy scenes down in Swindon.
He's preaching, yeah?
Yeah.
He's preaching, and because people don't like preaching, we had a woman come earlier.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you're like, what did she say about her son?
Oh, autism.
She was saying that her son was autistic, yeah?
Yeah.
Instead of like walking on, she decided to come over and try to grab the microphone.
Really?
Which you're not allowed to do.
No.
Like, rip it out of his hands, and he was getting all angry at that.
Mm.
You know, like, that's not legal, but how many police were called then?
Exactly, what I found disturbing.
False accusations. Basically, this guy went into this shop and they accused him of touching a woman in there.
Really?
He's one of our friends and he would never do such a thing.
No,
And he's not here now, but like...
This is like, do you know what this reminds me of?
Believe all women. Go believe all women, man.
Well, it reminds me of Muslim countries where they actually do this to Christians. They'll actually make up stuff and get them arrested. And we know there's a big Muslim population in England. And it's interesting that see, what I don't understand, well, I do understand it, but the government is enabling this activity. And I don't think it's really the Muslims. It's almost like they're using the Muslims to bring this to pass. Like they want to censor people. They're letting the Muslims, do their thing, like praying in the middle of the street while there's a busy street and just like stopping traffic. But if a Christian goes and preaches anywhere, they just arrest them now because they want to take away all your rights. So they're using the Muslims as a means to get rid of your rights. And I just find it really interesting. It's not just some organic thing. This is all, I feel like all of this stuff is not organic at all.
It's pretty, most of the stuff is unnatural. Just consider the one thing, like all of the sort of like silly stuff going on in the dating sort of landscape. Just consider that one thing, how unnatural it is to struggle with just dating and mating. That's the most natural, should fall into it kind of thing that there is. were literally designed to be like the North and South Pole, like to just like to totally attract each other, and it's just a crap show. It's all totally manufactured.
And it's through here. It's through your phone. It's through your social media. If we didn't actually have social media, I think everything would go back to normal. Okay, because they couldn't control you or make you think weird things anymore. They would lose all their power. So they used to do it through books and hundreds of years of slow movements. Now they got social media, but then they don't like people like you and I coming out here saying, wait, use your brain. This stuff doesn't make any sense. No, you're not allowed to say that. You're arrested. Don't talk anymore. We don't like you talking. That's the most dangerous thing in the world. Talking.
That's right. Speech is violence. Speech is violence.
What is that? 1984? Is that what it's from? I don't know. Speech is violence. I wonder.
Speech is that's from some red-haired wild, triggered SJW.
Oh, I thought it was from the movie 1984 because that sounds like something that would actually be in it.
Well, it might be in there, but this
they usually say the exact opposite of what the word means.
Well, no. Well, no. The speech is violence thing is basically it's basically the call for canceling. Like, so you said something I don't like, so I can cancel you because speech is violence.
It used to be sticks and stones may break my bones. Remember, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Remember when we used to say when we were kids? Now apparently it's the exact opposite. Sticks and stones won't hurt me at all, but words will kill me. That's the new one, apparently. So
well, and the thing is, it's not even words in the sense that, see, in that sort of saying or whatever, those words were actually words that were like calling somebody names or saying something mean to them or like that. But they're talking about as far as speech is violence is they don't like your argument presenting your particular perspective.
Because they can't defeat your argument. That's why.
Right.
They can't defeat it.
That is violence. So it's not even like you're calling anybody names. You're just saying, I have a different worldview, and here's an argument for why I have this worldview, and then that is violence.
You're
so
violent.
It's like
we don't like your words or your ideas. Your ideas are toxic and violent and evil.
All right, I'll play a little bit more. Well, I mean, we got the idea with that one. I think I've got one more video to play. Let's see here. Here it is. Where is it? Okay, here we go. And this is, I think this might be, hold up here.
Well, just in the last few minutes, Judge Michael Quinn has ruled that Enoch Burke is in contempt of court.
Okay, now this is just basically giving the details about that guy in Ireland. Yeah, the teacher in Ireland. So I just want to play this last thing.
Well, just in the last few minutes, Judge Michael Quinn has ruled that Enoch Burke is in contempt of court, and he has breached that court injunction which had ordered him not to go near the grounds of Wilson's Hospital Secondary School in Multifarnham. In handing down that ruling, he ordered that Enoch Burke be returned to Mountjoy Prison. In the last few minutes, he has been taken away here in a Garda van. Now, Mr. Burke arrived here at the courts at around 3:30 today. A very strong Garda presence here, about 8 members of the force here as he arrived. His parents and his siblings were also in court this evening. He was arrested on the grounds of the school at about 2:30 today and brought from the school here to the Four Courts. Now, the barrister for the school, Rosemary Mallon, telling the court today that the school was asking for a committal order. She said Mr. Burke's attendance at the school is disruptive and that the school cannot have somebody on the grounds who is trespassing. The court heard today as well that this is one of the rare cases where the defendant, at great cost to his own liberty, is unwilling to follow and obey the rules of the court. Now, Enoch Burke has already spent about 400 days in prison for breaking that court.
Man, that's crazy.
Injunction. The judge today said
a year in prison for having the wrong opinion is basically what it is.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and of course, these people disrespect the whole concept of courts, that justice is supposed to be blind, and you're supposed to be ruling on law, not making new laws or punishing people for your own opinion as a justice or a judge, which is what these guys are doing. They're a joke for what is actually what a judge is supposed to be. A judge is supposed to be basically ruling on the law, not their own opinion, not what they want to get done in society, but actually looking at the law and ruling on it. Justice is supposed to be blind, not have one eye open and like, oh, I don't like what they're doing. I don't like this. You know what I mean? Which is what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They said in their own constitution, it says they have the right to their own opinion and they have free speech. Yet they are ruling against their own constitution. So, and of course, it's just amazing, man. And then when people try to argue against very simple, obvious things like 1 + 1 = 2, and it just makes you wonder if they're being honest. People that would argue that, yeah, he deserves to be in jail. Are you actually being honest? Or is it just you don't like the guy and you want him in prison? And will you tell the truth? Will you be honest about it? Because you have all these pundits saying, things that sort of twist the truth and make it go their way. And that they probably know deep down within what they're doing is wrong, right? And it just disgusts me. You see it in America as well. You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
People playing games. It's just, they look at it as just a game. I can lie. If people believe me, then that's great. Whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as I get what I
speaking
want.
of lying, remember, Kamala lying about McDonald's.
What was that about? I didn't even know about that one.
Dude.
I'm not following this whole Kamala Trump thing really that much. I just hit on the big stories here and there once in a while.
Okay, so
it's
actually a big story. She had started saying that she worked at McDonald's to basically help her to work through college, to get some money for college, and that she did fries, that she did the ice cream, and she did that she checked out, did the checkout, and so she just kept saying this. And so people were, they started asking questions about, when did you work at McDonald's, which McDonald's, like this. And so she started taking a lot of heat for this. So
I don't know if they had ice cream back then anyway. I don't know if they had ice cream. She's 59, dude. She's like 10 years older than us. I don't think they had ice cream in McDonald's back that long ago.
Well, I don't
even think they had it when we were kids. I don't think they had ice cream when we were kids at McDonald's. I think I mean, that right there is an indication something's wrong.
Well, it turns out they did some investigative reporting. They dug some stuff up, and they kept contacting McDonald's, and they weren't responding. Now, the thing is that if the vice president, maybe who could be the president of the United States, worked at McDonald's, don't you think that McDonald's would want to confirm that immediately? And say, yes, she worked at McDonald's, and you can be president too if you work at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't they want that?
Maybe,
right?
Probably.
Of course,
more so, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course, they would want that. And so anyhow, they came out and they said, no, there's no record of her ever working at McDonald's.
Maybe she worked there illegally.
No. No, she did not work there. Her campaign has distanced themselves from this now. They were running
Joe
ads
Biden.
with her.
Joe Biden was doing that all the time. Joe Biden was like lying. I used to be a fireman. I used to do this, that. And he's like making up stuff like that too.
Dude, but why would you lie about something that's so easy to verify?
I don't know, man.
It's just so easy to verify. Like, hey, look, you lie about that, and it's like, dude, all they have to do is just contact McDonald's, and they can. They have a system, and it's got all the employees that have ever worked at any McDonald's.
She's 10 years older than us, dude. She's 10 years older than us, and I know they didn't have ice cream when we were kids. I know they didn't have it. That ice cream thing is like maybe 20 years ago or something. Maybe 30 years ago. It hasn't been around that long. And she's like free.
Well, it was when she was in college. It was when she was in college. I mean, look,
I don't think they had ice cream back then, man. I think I'm right.
Maybe
I think I'm right. I don't know for sure, but I think I'm right.
But it's just the whole thing. The whole thing is just like it's just really incredible. Did you see that 18-minute interview that she did with CNN finally?
I saw clips of it. I didn't see the whole thing.
Dude, there's all it is a clip. She talked for
Oh yeah,
maybe
I saw
8
the one
minutes.
clip. I just saw basically one clip.
Yeah, she might have talked for 8 minutes in this 18-minute, cut down from 40 minutes of an interview. They cut down to 18 minutes, and then she looked terrible in that. Also, her and her people were at CNN at their studio for 6 hours.
Right.
So what that tells you that happened is they made a deal on the front side that say, hey, we get to look at whatever it is that you're gonna play, right? And we get to decide what we want to get cut or whatever. And so 41 minutes is about what you need for an hour segment with the commercials.
That's why, yeah, I think she has a really hard time with this. She was okay as a VP, but I don't think she's really can think on her feet. Tulsi Gabbard completely destroyed her back in 2016. That's why her campaign completely fell apart back when she was running in the primaries for president back then, and then Joe Biden actually won. I'm 2020. But the thing about it is Tulsi completely destroyed her because Tulsi's really good on her feet as a candidate, right? I think she's way out of her league. I was predicting right when she started to get in the race, Camilla, that I was saying soon here, once they do a debate, once she does a debate with Trump, people are going to realize she did just as bad as Joe Biden. That was the first thing I realized. I was like, she's going to probably do worse than he did. Yeah. I think she might actually do worse than Joe Biden did. I was actually surprised how well Joe Biden did, considering the fact that he has so many issues with age and just forgetting stuff and all. I was amazed he did as well as he did when he was debating Trump. And the fact that people were shocked at how bad he did shows you how little they realized what was going on.
No. I don't think well, I think what it means, it shows that how much of the Kool-Aid they've been drinking.
Yeah, right. Well, the media is putting out lots of Kool-Aid. So, but I think Camilla's going to do worse than Joe Biden in the debate if she actually has one with Trump. I think she'll do worse. And
yeah, well, she did.
It's going to be a shock to the people watching. They'll be like, "Wait a second, the Kool-Aid again!"
Look, man,
the Kool-Aid again,
she looked terrible in that interview, and not only that, she had the vice presidential candidate with her. They don't do that. You understand? This has never happened before, where the first interview is with the running mate, and then so look, it's 18 minutes. Dana's asking her questions, and Walz is also talking, and then that leaves about 8 minutes for Kamala to talk. And I'm telling you, and her answers were totally not satisfying. Right. She refused.
I saw one answer. It was just basically very generic, and it didn't even really answer the question. But yeah, I know.
Well, half the questions she didn't answer. But one of them, she just flat out wouldn't address at all, and that's that whole about her identity, her racial identity.
Right.
So
I actually feel sorry for her a little bit because I think she's going to get completely destroyed in a debate with Trump. I really do. I think she'll just completely get annihilated. I don't know, man. I don't know. I shouldn't be feeling sorry for her because she's been there for so many years. She should already have been practicing all of this. I don't feel like she got serious about this. Maybe the people behind all this were not serious about her at all because they thought Joe would be able to pull it off. And then they realized, no, he couldn't. So they brought her in, which of course didn't allow the people to choose who they wanted for the candidate at all. And she's not ready for this, and she can't. She's not going to do well. I just feel like they can try to make it turn out good, but I don't think it's going to turn out good.
Well, here let me just play the rest of this. This is like a few more seconds.
He asked him whether he would comply with the injunction, but he said Mr. Burke refused to confirm whether he would or he would not. Judge Quinn saying this case will be back before the courts on the 11th of October, but he said to Mr. Burke, if at any stage you want to purge your contempt, the courts are open on a daily basis. Enoch Burke's mother saying to the judge as he handed down that ruling, she said, your decision will come back to haunt you. So Mr. Burke taken away from the courts here in the last few minutes, back to Mountjoy for his third time.
That used to be a Catholic country, man, Ireland, and now they're just completely. I saw this with Canada too, man. Like, I remember back when Canada just started going off the deep end. It was like 2015, 2014. Like, they seemed sort of normal up till that point, you know? You even had like the Red Green show, which is like the Canadian. I don't know if you ever heard of Red Green. You know what I'm talking about? It's like loggers, and it's like a comedy show. But they're like, it was kind of like, you know, men are men, you know, we just like to be lazy and stuff, and just kind of funny stuff, right? Like, it was normal family stuff. And, you know, you have like Dudley Do Right. You have all this kind of, you know, Canadians are really honest people, all this kind of, and the next thing you know, it's just like it just got railroaded. Canada just got completely destroyed since 2015. And I feel like Ireland, same thing. Like, it just very short period of time went from like a strong Catholic country to just completely destroyed. Like, it's just really sad to see it, you know. And America's also being destroyed, but it's taking longer. And I'm just hoping and praying that God will somehow change, do a miracle, because it's going to have to be God that will fix everything, because there's no way any person's going to be able to fix any of this stuff. Trump ain't going to fix anything on his own, that's for sure. I can tell you that. Yeah, no way. There's just too many, you know what I mean? It's like you have a zombie horde coming against you, and you got like 4 guys trying to fight a zombie horde. It's just not going to work. You know what I mean? I think if God intervenes, he could change our society and fix it, you know, but it's going to take God. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Send the asteroid. All right. That'll fix it.
Send the asteroid, beam me up, Scotty.
Right. No beaming up. No beaming.
Come on, man. It's all going to hell. Beam me out of here.
No beaming up. You're gonna take this. You're gonna take this medicine.
You're gonna take it. You're gonna live through it.
And it's you Jack Turkey Christians that let it get like this. All right.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. We got to do something about it. We got to be active and spread the good news, and try to save people and make a difference in society, all that kind of stuff, you know, maybe even politics if you have to. Right. Yeah. So.
All righty. I think that's going to be our time. Thanks, folks. Please like the video on the way out, and you have a great evening. See you next time. Peace.
Yeah. See you guys.